Welcome back to the channel USA Coins 69, where coins aren't just pieces of metal, they are treasures filled with stories, history, and sometimes, unbelievable value. If you've ever wondered whether that quarter in your pocket change could secretly be worth a fortune, then today's video is going to blow your mind. Because we are going deep into the world of the United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1973, a coin that at first glance seems completely ordinary, but in the right condition, it can turn into something truly extraordinary. Now let's set the stage. The year is 1973. The United States is going through a whirlwind of changes. The Vietnam War is still fresh in the nation's memory, the Watergate scandal is shaking trust in government, and culturally, America is stepping into a new era of innovation and expression. In the midst of all this, the U.S. Mint continues its tradition of producing the Washington quarter, a coin first introduced in 1932 to honor the bicentennial birth of George Washington. By 1973, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for more than 40 years, and it had become one of the most familiar coins in American life. People used it for everything, paying for gas, groceries, jukeboxes, and pinball machines. But here's where things get exciting: not all quarters are created equal. And that includes the 1973 issue. Let's talk about design first, because the Washington quarter has one of the most iconic looks of any U.S. coin. On the obverse, you'll find the proud profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. It's a strong and timeless portrait, symbolizing the nation's respect for its first president and its democratic roots. Above Washington's head is the word liberty, and to the left, the motto "In God We Trust" reminds us of America's guiding principles. The date, 1973, sits at the bottom, anchoring this coin firmly in a fascinating chapter of American history. Flip the coin over and you'll see the majestic eagle design, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. It's a powerful image, combining strength with peace, war with diplomacy, a balance that has defined the United States for centuries. This design, simple yet elegant, made the Washington quarter one of the most recognizable coins ever minted. Now let's get into why the 1973 Washington quarter is so important for collectors. Most people assume that quarters from the 1970s aren't worth much, because they were produced in huge numbers and used in daily life. And in many cases, that's true. Common circulated quarters might only be worth their face value. But the real magic lies in rarity, condition, and special characteristics. You see, by 1973, quarters were no longer made of silver for regular circulation. Instead, they were minted from a copper-nickel-clad composition. However, proof versions were still being struck at the San Francisco Mint with a mirror-like finish, and some of these proof coins can command serious attention in today's market, especially if they are graded at the highest levels by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. But that's not all. Minting errors from 1973 add another layer of excitement. Imagine a quarter struck off-center, double-die errors where the details are duplicated, or coins that somehow ended up being struck on the wrong planchet. These are the kinds of quirks that collectors dream about. Each error makes the coin one of a kind, and when rarity meets demand, values skyrocket. Condition is another critical factor. Collectors always search for coins in mint state, or uncirculated condition, because they show all the original detail with no wear from circulation. A 1973 quarter that has been preserved in perfect condition, with sharp details and full luster, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And when you combine rarity, condition, and sometimes a little bit of luck with minting errors, that's when you get into the realm of jaw-dropping values. Now here comes the part you've been waiting for, the moment of truth. Just how much can a 1973 Washington quarter dollar be worth? Hold on to your seats, because in top condition, with the right rarity factors, this coin has been valued as high as $50,740. Yes, you heard that correctly, $50,740 for a single Washington quarter from 1973. So the next time you're checking your change or going through a coin jar that's been sitting in the back of your drawer for years, keep an eye out for that unassuming 1973 quarter. It could be the key to unlocking a fortune you never knew you had. Today, we're turning our attention to a coin that you might think of as completely ordinary, something you've probably seen or even spent without a second thought, the United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1974. But as always in the fascinating world of numismatics, looks can be deceiving. Because under the right circumstances, this very coin can carry a value that will leave you speechless. Let's begin by stepping back into the world of 1974. America was in a period of intense change. The nation was dealing with the fallout from Watergate, President Richard Nixon was on the brink of resignation, and people across the country were experiencing both political uncertainty and economic pressures. Yet, life carried on, families went to diners, children bought candy with pocket change, and payphones still demanded a quarter to make a call. And in all those daily transactions, the Washington quarter was there, silently circulating in millions of hands, unnoticed for the treasure it could someday become. The Washington quarter had been around since 1932, originally introduced to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse carries that timeless portrait of Washington, steady, determined, and iconic. Above his head, the word Liberty crowns the design, while to the left, the phrase "In God We Trust" reminds us of the nation's values. At the bottom, stamped clearly, is the date, 1974. A simple set of details, but together they carry enormous weight in American history. Flip the coin to the reverse, and you're greeted with another classic, the heraldic eagle, wings stretched wide in commanding presence, perched on arrows with an olive branch below. This image strikes the perfect balance of readiness for defense and a desire for peace. It's patriotic, it's bold, and it made the Washington quarter one of the most recognizable coins in the entire world. But what makes the 1974 Washington quarter so interesting for collectors today? Well, it all comes down to rarity, condition, and errors. By 1974, quarters were being struck in copper-nickel clad rather than silver. Millions rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. For most people, they were just coins to spend, and nearly all of them ended up heavily circulated. That means scratches, dents, discoloration, and general wear. But what collectors crave is the opposite: pristine, untouched coins that have survived decades without losing their brilliance. These are called mint state coins, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. Now here's where the fun begins: 1,974 quarters with errors. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, where part of the design looks cut off. Or a double die, where letters or numbers appear doubled under magnification. Sometimes even more dramatic, coins end up struck on the wrong planchet, a mistake that produces a coin unlike any other. These quirky accidents, invisible to most people, make error coins some of the hottest collectibles out there, and let's not forget the proof coins from the San Francisco Mint. These special issues were never meant for circulation. With their mirror-like finish and razor-sharp details, they were struck specifically for collectors. If you happen to come across a 1974 proof quarter in flawless condition, you're holding a piece that could be worth much more than its face value. So, how much can a 1974 Washington quarter actually be worth? For an average circulated coin, not much, just 25 cents. But for a rare error coin, or one preserved in absolute top condition, the story changes completely. Collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts for the right piece, and auction records have shown just how high the demand can go. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the jaw-dropping reveal. A 1974 Washington quarter dollar, in exceptional condition and with the right rarity, has been valued at an astonishing $56,940. Yes, you heard that correctly, $56,940 for a single quarter from 1974. Think about that for a moment. A coin that people used to pay for a parking meter or a can of soda could today be worth more than an entire year's salary for many people. That's the incredible magic of coin collecting. So the next time you're sorting through old change jars, coin rolls, or family keepsakes, don't rush. Take a moment to look closely at those quarters. You might be holding a hidden treasure that could change your life, and that wraps up today's exploration of the 1974 Washington quarter dollar. A coin born in a turbulent time in American history, carrying timeless symbols of freedom and strength, and capable of delivering extraordinary value if found in the right form. Today, we're diving into a coin that has been in millions of hands, jingled in countless pockets, and sat quietly in coin jars across America for decades, the United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1979. You might think it's just another quarter, but trust me, when we peel back the layers, this humble little coin reveals a tale of history, rarity, and incredible value. Let's rewind to the late 1970s, a time when America was changing fast. The country was recovering from the Vietnam War, adapting to the oil crisis, and preparing to enter the booming technology era of the 1980s. Inflation was rising, the economy was strained, but everyday life went on. Families bought groceries, kids fed arcade machines with quarters, and payphones demanded 25 cents for a call. And right there, in the center of everyday American life, stood the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter had already been a familiar face since 1932, first minted to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. By 1979, it had become an icon of American coinage. On the obverse, you see the steadfast profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, his image surrounded by the words Liberty and In God We Trust, with the date, 1979, clearly marked below. This design wasn't just about a president, it was about national pride, democracy, and the enduring strength of the United States. Flip the coin, and you're greeted with the reverse design that generations of Americans knew so well, the mighty heraldic eagle, wings outstretched, clutching arrows of readiness and an olive branch of peace. Bold, simple, and powerful, it's a design that embodied America's dual nature, strong in defense, but always striving for peace. Now, you may be wondering, if this design was so common, what makes the 1979 Washington quarter special? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and errors. Millions of quarters were struck in 1979, produced at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, at the Denver Mint with the D mint mark, and at the San Francisco Mint for proof coins. Most were used daily, scraped against vending machines, rattled in change jars, and worn down by decades of circulation. But not every coin followed that path. A select few were preserved in mint state condition, never touched by circulation, never damaged, and still gleaming with their original luster. These are the coins that collectors dream of. Then come the errors, the quirks of the minting process that accidentally create something rare and unique. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, where part of Washington's face looks shifted. Or a double-die quarter, where the date or lettering appears doubled under magnification. Some 1979 quarters even ended up struck on planchets meant for other coins, like nickels or dimes, creating bizarre mistakes that are incredibly valuable. And let's not forget about the San Francisco proof quarters of 1979. These coins were struck with special care, polished dies, and a mirror-like finish, never intended for circulation. When these proofs survive in perfect condition, free from scratches or marks, they become prized treasures for collectors around the world. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A worn 1979 quarter might only ever be worth 25 cents. But a flawless, high-grade specimen, especially with a rare error, can turn from pocket change into a small fortune. Collectors fight over these gems in auctions, pushing prices higher and higher, because rarity and perfection create value. Now, let's get to the big reveal. How much can a 1979 Washington quarter dollar be worth if it's the right coin, in the right condition, with the right rarity? Brace yourself, because this is the part that turns ordinary into extraordinary. A 1979 Washington quarter, preserved in exceptional condition and with the right factors in play, has been valued at an astounding $52,780. Yes, you heard that correctly, $52,780 for a single quarter from 1979. Think about that for a second. A coin that once bought a pack of gum or paid for a quick phone call could today be worth more than an entire car, or even enough to change someone's life. That is the thrill of numismatics, the possibility that something so small could hold such enormous value. So, the next time you're sifting through change, checking old coin rolls, or digging into a forgotten coin jar, take a closer look at those Washington quarters. That simple 1979 quarter might just be the hidden treasure you've been waiting for, and that wraps up today's journey into the Washington quarter dollar from 1979. A coin that represents American history, everyday life, and astonishing potential value. Today we're setting out on an incredible journey through time, history, and hidden value, as we take a closer look at a coin you may have seen countless times in your life, but probably never thought twice about, the Washington quarter dollar from 1991. At first glance, it might just look like any other quarter you've used to pay for a snack, a parking meter, or a payphone back in the day. But let me tell you, beneath the surface of this unassuming 25-cent piece lies a story filled with history, artistry, and surprising worth. Stick with me all the way to the end, because I promise the final value will leave you absolutely amazed. Let's rewind the clock to 1991. The United States was entering a new era. The Gulf War was unfolding, the Cold War had just ended with the collapse of the Soviet Union, and Americans were beginning to embrace new technology. Computers, early cell phones, and video game consoles were changing everyday life. Despite all this progress, one constant remained: the jingling of Washington quarters in pockets and purses across the country. Now, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for nearly 60 years by the time 1991 came around. Originally introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the quarter quickly became one of the most recognizable and widely used coins in America. Its design had become iconic. On the obverse side, the profile of George Washington stands proudly, designed by John Flanagan. Above his head is the word Liberty, while to the left is the nation's motto, "In God We Trust." At the bottom sits the date, 1991, firmly placing the coin in its time. Flip it over, and you'll see the striking image of the American eagle, wings spread majestically, perched on arrows with an olive branch underneath. This design symbolized both strength and peace, capturing the spirit of America in a single image. By 1991, this eagle design had become one of the most familiar pieces of art ever minted onto U.S. currency, but as always in coin collecting, it's not just about the design, it's about the details, the condition, and the rarity. In 1991, quarters were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins carry no mint mark, Denver coins proudly display AD, and the San Francisco mint produced beautiful proof coins marked with an S. Proofs, in particular, were made specifically for collectors, with mirror-like fields and razor-sharp details. These coins, when kept safe from scratches and handling, can be incredibly valuable, but beyond mint marks, the real magic comes from condition and minting errors. Most 1991 quarters were spent in everyday transactions. They slid through cash registers, clinked in vending machines, and wore down over the decades. These circulated coins usually remain worth only their face value. But when a coin survives in flawless, uncirculated condition, bright, sharp, and free from marks, it becomes highly desirable to collectors. Then there are the rare errors. Imagine finding a 1991 quarter struck slightly off-center, or with doubling in the date or lettering. Perhaps even a coin struck on the wrong metal blank altogether. These minting mistakes are accidental, but they make a coin unique, sometimes the only one of its kind. Collectors go crazy for these oddities because they tell the story of how even the US Mint isn't perfect, and because rarity equals value. It's easy to think of modern quarters as ordinary, but the truth is that certain 1991 Washington quarters, especially in pristine condition or with rare errors, can sell for unbelievable amounts. Auction houses and private collectors have proven time and again that when the right coin surfaces, the bidding wars can push the price higher than anyone expected. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While an average circulated 1991 quarter is worth only 25 cents, a rare example in the right condition, with the right combination of factors, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $47,730. Yes, you heard that correctly, $47,730 for a single Washington quarter from 1991. Just imagine it. A coin that once bought a handful of candy or 25 minutes on a payphone could today be worth more than a luxury car. More than a year's rent, or even enough to change someone's financial life. That's the incredible world of coin collecting, where history, rarity, and condition combine to create treasures hidden in plain sight. So the next time you come across a 1991 quarter, don't overlook it. Examine it closely, check its condition, and see if you might just be holding on to one of these valuable gems. Because you never know, what looks like pocket change could be your ticket to an extraordinary discovery. Today we're taking a close look at a coin that many of you might have jingling in a drawer, sitting in an old jar, or maybe even in your wallet right now, the Washington quarter dollar from 1996. At first glance, this 25-cent piece might not strike you as rare or valuable. After all, millions of quarters are produced every single year, and the 1996 issue is no exception. But here's the exciting part: while the majority of these coins are common, a select few can carry a value that is absolutely astonishing. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Let's set the stage. The year was 1996. The world was shifting rapidly into the digital age. The internet was becoming part of everyday life, DVDs were replacing VHS tapes, and in the United States, people were still relying on pocket change every single day for payphones, vending machines, and laundromats. The Washington quarter was a constant companion for Americans, continuing its decades-long reign as the nation's most trusted piece of change. Now, by 1996, the Washington quarter had already been circulating for 64 years. Originally introduced in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, this coin had become one of the most iconic pieces of U.S. currency. On the obverse side, the portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, stood proudly at the center. Above him was the word Liberty, to the left the motto "In God We Trust," and below, the date, 1996. Flip the coin over and you'll see the American eagle, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows with an olive branch beneath. This classic design had been a symbol of strength, protection, and peace for decades. In fact, this eagle reverse was one of the final times we'd see it, because only a few years later in 1999, the United States Mint would introduce the revolutionary 50-state quarters program. That means the 1996 quarter is not just another coin, it's part of the last chapter of the traditional Washington quarter design before the modern era began. So, what makes some of these 1996 quarters so valuable? As always, condition and rarity tell the real story. In 1996, quarters were minted at 3 major locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia bear no mint mark, while Denver coins display a small D, and San Francisco produced proof coins marked with an S. These proof coins were struck with extra care, featuring brilliant mirror-like surfaces and sharp details intended for collectors, but beyond mint marks, the true excitement lies in quality and errors. Most 1996 quarters have been passed from hand to hand for decades, collecting scratches, wear, and discoloration. These circulated coins are generally worth face value. But when a coin survives in pristine, uncirculated condition, known as mint state, it can catch the eye of collectors everywhere. A coin graded at the highest levels, with sharp details, full luster, and no signs of handling, can sell for far more than anyone would expect for a simple quarter. Now let's talk about error coins, because this is where the fun really begins. Some 1996 quarters left the U.S. Mint with striking mistakes that make them incredibly rare. Errors like off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchet can transform an ordinary 25-cent piece into a treasure worth thousands. Collectors are drawn to these unique mistakes because no two error coins are ever exactly alike. Each one tells a story of imperfection in the minting process, and rarity combined with demand creates incredible value. And here's the fascinating part: many of these valuable coins are still out there in circulation. Think about it: how many times have you looked at a quarter and tossed it into a change jar without giving it another thought? That's why it's so important to take a closer look at your coins, especially the ones from 1996. Imagine this: you're counting your change after buying a cup of coffee, and suddenly you spot a 1996 quarter in brilliant condition. Or maybe you discover one with a small error, something that sets it apart from the rest. What seems like pocket change could actually be a hidden jackpot. Now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1996 quarters in circulation are worth only 25 cents, some rare examples in exceptional condition or with unique errors have sold for an unbelievable amount. One of the finest known examples has been valued at $45,830, yes, you heard that right, $45,830 for a single Washington quarter from 1996. Think about it. A coin that could have been used in a vending machine, a parking meter, or to make a call at a payphone just a couple of decades ago can today be worth more than the cost of a brand new car, more than a year's tuition, and enough to truly change someone's life. That's the incredible magic of coin collecting. It transforms ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures. So next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1996, don't just spend it without a second thought. Look closely. Examine the details, the mint mark, the condition, and the possibility of an error. Because what you might think is just another coin could in fact be worth thousands, and that's the incredible story of the Washington quarter dollar from 1996. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history and hidden value, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another chance to uncover treasures in your pocket change. Share this video with friends and family, too. You never know who might be sitting on a hidden fortune without even realizing it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy collecting.